Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Despite the general positivity right now around the Modern Warfare 3 beta, there have been some serious criticisms leveled, especially by the three-time Damon Carvalho, OpTic's coach for the brand new CDL season, saying the spawn system in this game, critical to the functioning of respawn modes, is effectively completely broken or straight up doesn't exist. Can Cellium fix this in time for release? Because if the spawns don't improve significantly, Hardpoint, Capture the Flag, and all the other game modes we've discussed over the last few days may completely not work in this title. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Firstly, this is a big potential story as well, that we have Advanced Warfare's weapons potentially returning to this game at some point. Now, the rumour is it's going to be Season 3 of Modern Warfare 3. So Season 3, quite a way off. Season 1 launches pretty much when the game launches. So I guess Season 3 is going to be before the halfway point of next year, but still relatively late in the CDL season. So it's not out of the realms of possibility these weapons get used in the CDL, but I wouldn't say it's exactly guaranteed. We don't usually see the pros like to add new weapons into the meta, but this game is going to have a lot of options because there's the guns that we've had last year, and then on top of that we've got, you know, for example right now the Striker or the ACR, for example, weapons that are likely, maybe with some balance tweaks, to be particularly viable when the game is out for real, and it probably won't be much different to what we see right now in the beta. So yeah, lots of weapons seem viable-ish in this game. Okay, there's always going to be the stronger ones, but they're going to add more maps over time that aren't just throwback MWIII maps from 2009 that were made all the way back then. New maps over time, but also new old weapons in a way. So these are the weapons in question, and these are a very interesting selection of weapons to choose. The meta guns from Advanced Warfare, plus a couple of other ones. The EM1 I've got to mention because this was, as you can probably tell here, a laser gun if you guys didn't play Advanced Warfare. So I'm not exactly sure if it's going to return as a laser gun to the new game. I guess we'll have to stay tuned for that one. But the MWIII was a phenomenal sniper. I know that Formal is hearing this thinking, oh, you know, bring me back type thing. This was used often with the thermal scope on it, and it was a single shot weapon. So after you fired, there was no magazine that you then replaced. You had to cycle the ammunition yourself. So you would shoot, the cartridge would fly out, you'd have to put the other one in, and then you go again. So that was a great weapon. That was the go-to sniper rifle during the Advanced Warfare cycle. And these were the two go-to weapons. The ASM-1 is genuinely one of my favorite guns ever in COD when it was at its peak. And the frustrating thing, if you go back and play Advanced Warfare today, is that the ASM-1 and the BAL both got nerfed somewhat after, I think even after the title's life cycle was over. They reduced the fire rate, definitely of the BAL, and I think of the ASM-1 as well. I'm pretty sure that's true, actually. So both of these guns aren't quite as good now as they were in their prime. I wonder what form they'll be brought back to COD in, because the prime BAL was insane. Like, there's a reason why they called it Call of Duty BAL Warfare, or whatever they used to call it, something like that anyway. Because there were times where you would have at least 6 BALs on the map in the early part of the game, if not 8. And it was an insane weapon that I never particularly got along with massively. I actually always preferred the HBR, which is kind of funny really because of all the flack that Nadeshot took for using it during Champs that year. But actually nowadays in Advanced Warfare, the HBR is the gun you want to use because they nerfed the BAL. But if you guys played back then, you'll know these guns are pretty legendary, and there's some level of excitement about the possibility of them returning, because people are like, oh yeah, the ACR's coming back, all this stuff, and now you're thinking, damn, the ASM-1, the BAL back, like, yeah, the ASM-1 was just so good, honestly. I absolutely love that gun, and as Attach says to Clay, we are so back. Gotta wonder as well whether potential teammates for the new year, I guess we'll stay tuned for that. Don't let me get the BAL into my hands again, because Clay with the BAL was one of the best all-time players, no doubt. Clay during that title, I mean, Clay and Formal both that year with the BAL were insane, but Clay especially for the majority of the title was just ridiculous. So yeah, Clay is very excited with this possibility, and yeah, numerous rumors claim this is going to be the case. Now, even Modern Warzone, I don't know how much intel he has on this, but there was a question like, oh, just give us an Advanced Warfare mode, right? Bring back some jetpacks, do whatever. And he says, what if they do? I don't know how they could possibly execute anything like this, but I guess we'll see. Even just give me uplink or something, just try it out, might be a good idea. And then, of course, people were saying, as Kevy Skills are saying, how about bringing the HBR back? Because this is the HBR A3 from that game. It was, I think, a really fun weapon as well. Controversial, of course, because of the nade shot stuff, but actually really good. So if they are going to bring back some maps from, Advanced Warfare was the first game I think the Cellium made on their own, because I think they're involved in, were they not involved in MW3 or something before that? But not as the primary developer. So yeah, AW, maybe they're going to bring back some of their old weapons from that game. Wonder if they're bringing back some old weapons, they might have a look at some of these old maps. The issue is that there's some legendary maps here from that game. I loved Biolab especially. People really gas up Solar, and I get it, Solar was great, but wasn't my personal favourite. Comeback was right up there as well for Uplink, but it's like so many of these maps. Are any of them going to work for boots on the ground? Probably not really. They'd have to be adapted so significantly. So, yeah, I don't know. But if they're bringing back some weapons, you might think they might want to try and bring back some other things as well into the game. Now, some positive things about the title as far as I'm concerned. Time to kill. This has been a big conversation. Exclusive A's does the analysis. I'll just look at it here from the SMG side of the argument. And you guys can see, back in the day, the time to kill was so fast, right? We're talking MW3 Ghost especially. I think it was like 141. It's crazy that MW3 was quicker actually, but Ghost 141 milliseconds with the Vector, 3 shots, you just die immediately. And you got to realize that back in the day as well, the hit registration wasn't as good. If you played COD 4, the original one from 2007, compared to playing COD 4 Remastered that came out in 2016 with Infinite Warfare at the same time, it was a very different experience because back in the COD 4 days, your bullets didn't always register where they went and the time to kill was a bit slower. When you put stopping power on the on the M16 and COD 4 Remastered, you are killing people instantly. So as time progressed, as the servers got better, as the consoles got better, generally we started to see the developers bring the time to kill up slightly. If you hit all your shots, you were talking like 200 milliseconds, which is still pretty fast, but that's kind of what we had during the jetpack era. And World War II, I think, had a pretty good time to kill as well, all things considered. Generally it was 4 shots. The barrel was a bit of a melt machine, especially with long barrel on. And then Trek decided to go crazy with Black Ops 4. And, they put it to 150 health, especially on the SMGs actually here. It took a lot of shots to kill, slightly more reasonable time to kill on the AR side. But I think, there's an argument that Black Ops 4 went too far the wrong way. But even then, I didn't really have a problem with the time to kill. The issue that I had was the stim shot. The fact that, I liked that you had to hit a lot of shots to kill a guy, but the fact that I could hit 5 shots, he ducked around the corner, immediately he's back to 100 health or 150 health. I wasn't a big fan of that. So then, of course, Infinity Ward decided, yeah, we ain't doing that, buddy. We're back to normality here, and they put it back to the same time to kill that they had in, Black Ops 1, games like this, and even MW2. And that felt rapid compared to what we'd just had. But historically, it's not anything completely crazy, and actually very similar to this most recent title in Modern Warfare 2. But Cold War is seemingly kind of the benchmark that people are going to, and I know that lots of people have talked about this as Cold War is the optimal time to kill, and actually the time to kill with the AR was even a bit longer because you pretty much had to hit 5 shots unless you got a couple of headshots in there. So the MW2 beta is pretty much on par, according to Exclusive Ace's testing, with Cold War, which I think is what we want to see. I really like this time to kill personally, something in this ballpark of like 300-ish milliseconds. You've got to hit 4 to 5 shots, good shots, especially if the aim assist is a bit weaker. I think it does increase the skill gap and actually aiming. Like, honestly, at the pro level, some people shoot straighter than others, but not significantly so when you only have to hit 3 shots to kill with incredibly strong aim assist. If you lower that down to you have to hit 5 shots to kill with slightly weaker aim assist, I think we will start to see again actual skill gaps in terms of the pros that can really hit beams and the pros that can't. So I think that's good for the scene in general. Some problems though have emerged with the game. I know that Octane was getting frustrated with the visibility here on Favela, and I do get it because it's pretty funny from Jeff actually. He gets this kill and then he sees this red light which very much looks like it's a player, right, over the guy's head, and actually it turns out that's a traffic light. And I know that lots of people have put so many clips into this traffic light so far, and these are Octane's thoughts. good beta, enjoyment, right, generally, and there are some positivity, you know, there are some positive things about the game, no doubt, and there are some things that they've done better than Infinity Ward. Have they reverted all of the Infinity Ward frustrations with some of the things on the movement? Not necessarily, and there will come a point, as there always does, that people start to take for granted the good things about the game and start to complain about the bad things. There's always how it goes in COD, and I don't think that's a bad thing to do. That's just how it goes. There's a honeymoon period, and then things start to change. So Octane mentions the spawns as well. He says it could be 6v6 randomness, but it's hard to tell. Visibility is poor, the weapons need some adjusting, and obviously we'll talk about the maps as well later today. But this was the big one really from Karma about the state of the spawns. I think the spawns are the worst I have ever seen in this Call of Duty, which is quite the statement. From someone coming from, you know, Karma, who's played for well over a decade of competitive Call of Duty at this point, to say that this is effectively the worst that he's ever seen is pretty bad. Now, I guess the question is this an actual spawn system that they've designed and is just atrocious, or do they really not even have a spawn system and they're going to work on it? Because usually you see during a game's life cycle plenty of updates to the spawn logic. The frustrating thing to me is these maps should be known, they should be understood, and maybe the MWIII spawns back in 2009 weren't great, but they were at least at times functional, and I think more so than this game. So you think, well, the maps are the same, why not just copy the spawns as well? Now you can copy the spawn locations, but the spawn logic, that's an entirely different debate, and this is when every year for the last 5 years, we've had discussions about spawns and the way that they work. Squad spawns was a big talking point going into MWIII, where, you know, if you spawn somewhere, you likely your entire team would spawn on you, and it wouldn't really consider too much the positioning of the enemies, which I don't think is optimal, but the pros had to massively adapt to it. And as Karma goes on to say, it honestly seems like there isn't even a spawn system in place. Like, it's just a complete free-fall out there. It's fun to play, but sheesh, it needs some work bad. And obviously there's Hardpoint in the game. We don't have all the game modes, but there are certain game modes, such as Hardpoint, where spawns are critical. Now, I'm very confident in this title that Search and Destroy will play well. Dead Silence appears to be probably Dead Silence. There are red dots on the map. There are good maps for Search and Destroy that we know play well. I've got no concerns about S&D being much better in this game than it has been the last couple of titles. The respawns, though, I'm not sure how well these maps are going to work, first of all, and especially for game modes like Hardpoint. And in addition to that, you need the spawns to work well. I don't know what logic that Sledgehammer are trying to bring in here. Maybe they've said, you know what, we're just going to deal with the spawns later, and after the beta concludes, then we'll figure out the spawns based on what we saw from the beta. But as Priestahh says, this is the most important part when it comes to respawn. I don't understand how hard it is to get these traditional spawns back. They're bringing other things about the game back to being more traditional. Why can't they just throw the spawn system back to how it used to be, where you would just spawn in 3 locations on the map depending on the position of your team in part, but also mainly on the position of your enemies, and of course which would be tied to the particular hardpoint location and certain consistent spawns that players can rely on. So yeah, Sasha was like, well, how could it be worse than MWIII? That, as far as Sasha's concerned, was the absolute worst of the worst. Does it get any worse than that? And he reckons that, is it even possible? So that's what Karma says. He's like, well, maybe there isn't even an actual spawn system here, and we're just playing a completely random set of spawns. And if that is the case, then maybe there is something to think about. But it's definitely a bit concerning, because you go back to a game like Cold War that played well, and, okay, even the spawn system in that game caused some controversy and probably wasn't great compared to what the pros would have liked to see, but still it was better than what Infinity would have come up with. So yeah, definitely a concern, because you got to say that respawn modes in this game are the big question mark, especially with the maps we have, and I think that all things considered, they're going to need to resolve this one pretty quickly. So very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Just wanted to close out, if you guys haven't tried this yet, a Seams SMG class. I saw this floating around, so if you guys want to give this one a go, then we'll see if this actually turns out to be any good. So yeah, very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.